Wine stood silently in the bathroom, clutching the pregnancy test in her trembling hands. Her heart thudded in her chest as she watched the result slowly develop. Every second felt like an eternity. Her breath catch in her throat. One line, just one. Her fingers went numb. She blinked as if maybe, just maybe, the second line would appear if she waited too enough. But nothing changed. A tear welled in her eye and slipped down her cheek, silent and warm. She stared at her reflection in the mirror, her lips parting slightly as a quiet sob catch in her throat. But the doctor said everything was normal, my reports were clear. Then why Allah, why not now? Her voice cracked with the weight of unspoken prayers. She clutched the test tightly and slowly made her way out of the bathroom. Trying to steady her breath, the house was quiet except for the soft ticking of the clock. As she reached the bedroom door and pushed it open, she saw Jungkook waiting, sitting on the couch with a hopeful gleam in his eyes. But the moment he saw her expression, his smile faded. Wine? Hey, what happened? His tone was laced with concern, his step swift as he closed the distance between them. She didn't answer, only placed the test into his hand with trembling fingers. Jungkook looked down, saw the single line, and his eyes immediately flickered back up to hers. I really thought this time. Before she could finish, her voice broke and another tear slipped down her face. Jungkook reached forward gently, his hands cupping her cheeks. Hey, hey, don't cry. Please, my love, not like this. Why can't I be a mother, Jungkook? She took a shaky step forward and collapsed into his arms, wrapping her arms tightly around his torso. We tried, we prayed, I did everything, and still I failed. Don't say that. You didn't fail anything. Why? This isn't your fault. This isn't a failure. It's just not the right time yet. It's second time, Jungkook. We were ready to start a family. I wanted to give you the happiness of becoming a father, but I couldn't give you that. Her body trembled in his hold. Jungkook gently placed his chin on top of her head, his voice steady and full of warmth. Don't you ever think that having a child is a gift, and he gives it in his perfect time? Your worth as a wife, as a woman, isn't tied to a pregnancy test. You are already everything I have ever wanted. He pulled back slightly just to look into her eyes, brushing a strand of hair from her face before kissing her forehead with utmost tenderness. And you know what else? What? Maybe right now Allah wants us to grow stronger together. Maybe He wants us to build more love before He blesses us with a new life. And when the time is right, nothing will stop our dua from being answered. But what if that time never comes? Then we trust Him anyway. We believe in Qadr. Whether He gives us a child or not, it will never change the love I have for you. You are already my home. If we are destined to become parents, it will happen. And until then, we remain grateful and patient. She looked into his eyes, those soft brown eyes full of sincerity, of love so deep it made her chest ache. He wasn't just comforting her, he was reminding her of her faith. You really mean that? With all my heart, if Allah gave me only you and nothing else, I would still consider myself the luckiest man in the world. He leaned in again and kissed her forehead, lingering there for a moment longer this time. Then, without another word, he picked her up bridal style and carried her to the bed. You don't have to. I want to. My wife deserves to be held when she's hurting. He laid her gently on the bed and slipped in beside her, wrapping his arms protectively around her as she curled into him. His fingers traced light circles on her back while he whispered calming words into her ear. You are not alone. We will face every test, every disappointment, and every joy together. You and me always, always. And in that quiet moment, with tears slowly fading and hearts closed in sorrow and faith, they held on to each other, not with despair, but with renewed hope that Allah's plan, though delayed, was never denied. The soft morning light crept in through the curtains, casting a golden hue across the room. Wine slowly opened her eyes, her body still curled in Jungkook's arm. The warmth of his embrace remained even as sleep wore off. He was still asleep beside her, his breathing calm and even. She quietly slipped out of bed, careful not to wake him. Her feet touched the cold floor as she made her way to the bathroom. She glanced at herself in the mirror while picking up her toothbrush. The dark circles under her eyes stood out, clear evidence of the emotional toll from the night before. You have to pull yourself together for him and for yourself. She squeezed the toothpaste onto her brush and began brushing her teeth slowly. As the minty foam foamed, her eyes remained fixed on her tired reflection. After a moment, she leaned forward, spat the foam into the sink, and rinsed her mouth. Cold water rushed over her face as she splashed it several times, trying to wash away the heaviness she felt inside. She dried her face with a towel and stepped out into the kitchen. The apartment was quiet, save for the faint hum of the refrigerator. Wine moved on autopilot, reaching for the eggs, cutting vegetables, setting slices of bread in the toaster. Her hands worked efficiently, though her mind remained elsewhere. She plated the breakfast neatly for Jungkook, eggs, toast, and a glass of orange juice, just the way he liked it. But as she stared at the empty plate meant for herself, she hesitated. Her appetite was gone. Without much thought, she put the second plate back in the cupboard. Not today. She poured herself a cup of water instead and leaned against the counter, staring blankly at the kitchen window. Her phone buzzed on the countertop. A reminder flashed across the screen. 10 a.m. Executive briefing, product expansion strategy. She sighed and picked up the device, quickly scanning through her emails. Though she worked in the same company as Jungkook, her position was unique, strategic communications director. It was her job to shape the public image of the company, build corporate relationships, and lead high level messaging with external partners and investors. Her role demanded confidence, insight, and creativity, and usually she thrived in it. But today her heart wasn't in it. Just then she heard soft footsteps approaching from behind. Jungkook emerged from the bedroom, still a little sleepy, his hair messy and his shirt wrinkled. But the moment he saw her, his eyes softened with quiet concern. You are up early, and you made breakfast? He noticed her empty plate at the counter. Wait, you didn't eat? I wasn't hungry. He stepped beside her gently, tilting her chin up to look at her. You didn't sleep properly either. Your eyes show it. I just needed to get moving. You have a big meeting today. And you think I'm going to sit through a meeting knowing my wife skipped her breakfast and is carrying the weight of yesterday on her face? She looked at him, startled by his directness. He reached for a stool and sat beside her, holding her hand gently. Wine, I know you are strong, but please don't forget to take care of yourself. You are allowed to feel sad, but don't starve your body while your heart is healing. I don't feel like myself right now. I know, that's why I will help you through it. Just like you always stand beside me, I'm here too. He took her hand and placed it over his chest. No matter what happens out there, in the office, in life, this is your safe place. You and I are a team, and we will face everything together. Allah is with us, and I am with you. Thank you, I needed that. Now, come on, at least have a bite of toast. If not for you, then for me. She finally let out a small smile and nodded. All right, for you. He kissed her forehead and walked over to the table to begin eating, while she sat across from him, taking a few bites slowly. The weight hadn't disappeared completely, but in that moment it felt a little lighter. And as they both got ready for their day ahead, two professionals with heavy responsibilities and even heavier hearts, they knew they were stronger because of the love and faith they shared. After finishing breakfast, they both got ready and left for work. The car ride was unusually quiet. Wine sat beside Jungkook, her eyes half closed, resting her head against the window. While he drove silently, glancing at her now and then, worried, suddenly Jungkook hit the brake as the car came to a red light. The sudden motion jolted her awake, and her eyes blinked open, confused. Before she could say anything, Jungkook turned toward her and without a word pulled her into his embrace, wrapping one arm around her shoulder gently. Wait, Jungkook, what calling are you wearing today? It's making me feel weird. She made a funny face and pulled away slightly, waving her hand in front of her nose. It's the same one you always said was your favorite. Well, I'm definitely not liking it today. She leaned away, still making a dramatic expression of distaste. Jungkook smiled at her reaction, then leaned forward and gently kissed her forehead. But behind that smile, a silent prayer stilled in his heart. Ya Allah, I trust you with everything, but please just this once, let it be good news. They arrived at the door shortly after. As always, the employee stood and greeted both of them with respectful nods and warm smiles. Being the CEO and a strategic communications director, Jungkook and Wine were well respected by the entire staff, not only for their positions but also for their humility and professionalism. After settling into her office and preparing a few documents, Wine walked down the hall and gently knocked on Jungkook's door. Come in. She stepped inside, holding a folder close to her chest. Everything is almost ready for the presentation. Great job. You are always ahead of time. But before she turned to leave, she paused mid step, eyes narrowing slightly. Wait, did you change your clothes? Yeah, I did. Can you blame me? My wife works in the same building. How can I not try to look decent? She laughed softly and made her way to the couch in his office, sitting down and letting her head fall back against a cushion. He walked over to his desk, watching her from the corner of his eye. Her skin looked pale, her usual spark seemed a little dimmer. There is still half an hour before the meeting starts. Close your eyes and rest here for a while, okay? All right. She closed her eyes without another word, her breathing steady but slow. Jungkook didn't disturb her. Instead, he turned his attention to the file she had prepared. Inside were detailed slides, graphs, and insights on the upcoming product expansion campaign. Her analysis of regional market trends, audience behavior, and cross brand partnerships was sharp and impressive. Every page showed her dedication, clean formatting, confident language, and strategic depth. It was clear she wasn't just a wife, she was a force of brilliance in the corporate world. 30 minutes passed as Shungo got up from his chair. A pencil slipped from his hand and rolled onto the floor with a soft clink. This sound made Wine's eyes flutter open. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to wake you. One glanced at her wristwatch and sat up. No, it's all right. It's almost time. Anyway, let's go. The meeting began smoothly. Wine stood confidently before a long conference table, addressing the senior team, clients, and board members. Her tone was composed, her words articulate. Everyone listened intently as she broke down complex strategies with clarity and purpose. Jungkook watched her with pride from his seat at the head of the table, but something was off. Her voice began to slow. She pressed a hand lightly to her chest, her breathing becoming uneven. Jungkook's brows furrowed. A bead of sweat formed near her temple. She tried to continue, but her words came out strained. And then her steps wavered, her eyes rolled slightly as her body tilted backward. Wine, he rushed forward and catch her just before she could fall. The meeting is postponed. I'm sorry. Without a second thought, he lifted her in his arms and left the room, ignoring the whispers and concerned glances. She slowly regained consciousness in the quiet comfort of their home in his bedroom. The air was calm, the curtains drawn halfway, sunlight leaking in softly. What happened? She rubbed her temple, trying to sit up. Jungkook walked in, holding a glass of water, a calm smile on his face. You fainted in the middle of the meeting. You scared me. He sat beside her, offering her the glass. She took a small sip, then handed it back, frowning. I'm not feeling like drinking anything. Even water tastes odd. He studied her face closely, the sudden sensitivity to smell, the pale skin, the fatigue, the nausea. Wine, I think it's time we check again. Her heart sank. She looked at him, unsure whether to be afraid or hopeful. But what if it's still the same? Then we will face it together again. But this time I have a feeling, and more than anything, I have faith in Allah's mercy. Just take the test. She nodded slowly. With trembling hands, she walked to the bathroom. Inside, she closed the door and took a deep breath. Her hands shook as she held the test. She whispered silently under her breath, Ya Allah, if it is good for me, please make it easy and bless me with it. I trust you no matter what the outcome is. 5 minutes passed. When she opened the door, her eyes shimmered. She clutched the test tightly in her hand as tears welled up in her eyes, but this time they were not from sadness. Jungkook saw her standing there and he knew. She ran to him and threw her arms around his neck, holding him tightly, her body shaking with joy. I can't believe it, Jungkook. I'm pregnant. It's really happening. He smiled against her hair and pulled her even closer. I told you, trust Allah. Whoever places their trust in him is never left disappointed. She nodded against his chest, her cheeks wet with joyful tears. I'm so happy and scared and overwhelmed. Jungkook cupped her face and looked into her eyes. You're going to be an amazing mother, and I will be right beside you. Every step, every moment, this child will be a blessing, and we will raise them with love and with faith. He leaned forward and kissed her forehead, his hands resting on her cheeks. I love you, and I love the life we're about to start. And I love you. Thank you for never letting me give up.